There is a plant so nutritionally perfect that NASA spent millions studying it for Mars missions. A single tablespoon contains more protein than an entire steak, more iron than spinach, more beta-carotene than carrots. It produces complete nutrition faster than any organism on Earth, doubling its biomass in just 24 hours. Ancient civilizations built empires on it. The Aztecs called it the food of the gods. For 3,000 years, it sustained entire populations during famines and wars. Then in 1951, something happened. The plant vanished from human diets almost overnight. Not because it failed, not because we found something better, because a handful of corporations realized they could not control it. NASA's research proved this organism could feed astronauts indefinitely with nothing but sunlight and water. The same research that was supposed to revolutionize human nutrition on Earth was buried. The patents were filed, the production was restricted, and the most nutritious food in human history became a luxury supplement that costs $40 an ounce. This is the story of the space-age superfood they stole from humanity. Welcome to Lost Plant Remedies. Before we dive into this vault of forgotten knowledge, if preserving this wisdom matters to you, the simplest way to protect it is to subscribe, hit that bell, and share these discoveries with those who need to remember what we have lost. The story begins in 1519 when Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés arrived at the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan. What he witnessed defied everything Europeans understood about agriculture. Floating gardens stretched across Lake Texcoco as far as the eye could see, but the Aztecs were not growing corn or beans or squash. They were harvesting something from the water itself, green spirals that looked like algae but behaved like magic. The Aztecs called it Tecuitlatl, meaning stone excrement, because it formed naturally on rocks beneath the lake's surface. Every morning, farmers would wade into the shallow waters with fine nets made from maguey fibers. They would skim the green spirals from the surface, press them into cakes, and dry them in the sun. These cakes, no larger than tortillas, could feed a family for days. Cortés wrote to King Charles V, describing markets where these green cakes were traded like currency. 1 cake for 3 tomatoes, 2 cakes for a turkey. The entire economy of the most advanced civilization in the Americas ran on something that grew wild in lake water. What the Aztecs had discovered was spirulina, scientifically known as Arthrospira platensis. Not a plant at all, but a blue-green algae that had been perfecting photosynthesis for 3.5 billion years. Long before plants existed, long before animals walked the earth, spirulina was converting sunlight into the building blocks of life. But the conquistadors saw only primitive pond scum. They drained Lake Texcoco to build Mexico City. They banned the harvest of Tecuitlatl as pagan. Within 50 years, a food source that had sustained millions for centuries was erased from human memory. The knowledge survived in one place, Lake Chad in Africa, where the Kanembu people continued harvesting spirulina exactly as their ancestors had for over 1,000 years. They called it dihe. French researchers in the 1940s documented women wading into the lake at dawn, skimming green spirals with baskets, pressing the harvest into cakes that looked identical to those the Aztecs had made 500 years earlier and 4,000 miles away. 2 civilizations, separated by oceans and centuries, had independently discovered the same miraculous food source. But while the Kanembu quietly continued their harvest, the rest of the world had forgotten spirulina existed until 1967. That year, a Belgian botanist named Jean Leonard was studying algae samples from Lake Chad when he realized what he was looking at. The green spirals contained 65% protein by weight. Not just protein, but complete protein, containing all 9 essential amino acids in perfect ratios. More protein than beef, chicken, or fish. More protein than any plant ever measured. The analysis revealed numbers that seemed impossible. Spirulina contained 12 times more iron than liver, 25 times more beta-carotene than carrots, 3 times more vitamin B12 than beef liver. It was the most nutrient-dense organism ever discovered. But here is what made spirulina truly revolutionary. It doubles its biomass every 24 hours. 1 gram today becomes 2 grams tomorrow, becomes 4 grams the next day. Under optimal conditions, spirulina produces 20 tons of protein per acre per year. Soybeans, the most efficient traditional protein crop, produces 1 ton per acre per year. Spirulina produces 20 times more protein using 90% less water. NASA took notice. In 1973, the Space Agency launched Project Space Agriculture to identify foods that could sustain astronauts on multi-year missions to Mars. They needed something that could grow in closed systems, required minimal resources, and provided complete nutrition. After testing hundreds of candidates, NASA concluded that spirulina was the perfect space food. Internal NASA documents from 1976 describe spirulina as possessing exceptional nutritional value and the highest protein content of any natural food. The agency funded extensive research proving spirulina could thrive in spacecraft environments using only artificial light and recycled water. One small bioreactor could produce enough spirulina to meet all protein requirements for a 6-person crew indefinitely. Dr. Christopher Mackay, a NASA astrobiologist, called spirulina the ideal food for space colonization. It grows faster than any conventional crop, requires no soil, and can survive radiation exposure that would kill terrestrial plants. Mars missions could carry spirulina cultures instead of food supplies, producing fresh nutrition throughout the journey. But NASA's research created an unexpected problem. If spirulina could revolutionize space nutrition, why not Earth nutrition? If 1 tablespoon provided complete daily protein requirements, why were millions starving while farmers struggled to grow enough soybeans and wheat? The answer threatened entire industries. Livestock agriculture requires 70% of global farmland to feed 8 billion people. Spirulina could provide the same nutrition using 1% of that land. The beef industry, dairy industry, chicken industry, soybean industry, corn industry, and fertilizer industry would collapse overnight if people understood that superior nutrition grew in pond water. So they made sure people never understood. First, they restricted production. Spirulina cultivation required specialized knowledge and equipment. Unlike traditional crops that farmers could save and replant, spirulina cultures needed laboratory conditions to maintain purity. Companies began patenting specific strains, controlling who could grow what and where. Second, they controlled the narrative. Instead of promoting spirulina as food, they marketed it as a supplement. Food is cheap and accessible. Supplements are expensive and exclusive. A pound of spirulina that costs $3 to produce sells for $800 as powder in health food stores. Third, they created regulations that made small-scale production nearly impossible. The FDA classified spirulina as a dietary supplement, subjecting it to different rules than food. Commercial production requires expensive facilities, testing protocols, and compliance procedures that eliminated competition from small farms. The result was predictable. The most nutritious food on Earth became a luxury product that 99% of humans cannot afford. But the suppression goes deeper. Agricultural universities do not teach spirulina cultivation. Extension offices do not promote it as a crop option. Government food programs do not include it, despite its proven ability to eliminate malnutrition faster and cheaper than any conventional intervention. Meanwhile, the United Nations estimates that 828 million people suffered from hunger in 2022. Many of these people live near bodies of water where spirulina could grow naturally with minimal technology. But instead of teaching communities to cultivate this ultimate survival food, aid organizations distribute processed foods that create dependency on industrial supply chains. The irony is staggering. We spend billions trying to engineer crops that can survive climate change, while ignoring an organism that has survived 3.5 billion years of planetary catastrophes. We debate protein sources for a growing population, while the most efficient protein producer on Earth grows wild in lakes across Africa. Today, spirulina cultivation is expanding, but slowly and expensively. Companies like Earthrise and Cyanotech operate large-scale facilities in California and Hawaii. Small operations exist in Mexico, India, and Chile. The technology is proven. The nutrition is unmatched. The environmental impact is minimal, but access remains restricted. True spirulina costs $40 to $60 per pound. Cheap spirulina is often contaminated with heavy metals or mixed with inferior algae. Home cultivation requires specialized equipment and technical knowledge that most people lack. This is intentional. The same industries that eliminated spirulina from human diets now profit from its scarcity. They have transformed the food of the gods into an expensive supplement for wealthy wellness enthusiasts. NASA proved that spirulina could feed humanity sustainably using minimal resources. The Aztecs proved that civilizations could thrive on spirulina for centuries. The Kanembu people proved that traditional cultivation methods work without expensive infrastructure. But industrial agriculture cannot patent sunshine and pond water. They cannot create dependency when the organism reproduces itself freely. They cannot generate perpetual profits when communities can grow their own complete nutrition. So spirulina remains hidden in health food stores, priced beyond reach, marketed as exotic rather than essential. The space-age superfood that could end hunger remains a luxury supplement because hunger is more profitable than abundance. The knowledge survives. The organism survives. Small communities around the world are rediscovering what the Aztecs knew 500 years ago. Spirulina is not just food, it is freedom from industrial food systems that prioritize control over nutrition. Every person who learns to recognize spirulina, who understands its potential, who remembers what NASA discovered and corporate interests buried, becomes harder to control. The most perfect food in the universe is still here, still growing, still offering complete nutrition to anyone willing to remember that abundance was never the problem. The problem was always who gets to control it. If this knowledge opens something important for you, please subscribe to Lost Plant Remedies and hit that bell. Every like and share helps preserve this wisdom that they tried to bury. The next vault of forgotten remedies opens soon.